This is WRLYLP Raleigh.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. Texas authorities say they're reviewing the actions of police in Uvalde on Tuesday after families of those killed in the school shooting accuse them of failing to enter the building rapidly enough. The actor Kevin Spacey is facing 4 charges of sexual assault against 3 men in Britain, and a New York court has ruled that former U.S. President Donald Trump must testify under oath in a civil investigation into his business dealings.
Brought to you by Triangle Access Broadcasting, here's a look at the weather in the Oak 93.5 listening area. Increasing cloudiness tonight with a chance of scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms developing late, low around 69. Mostly cloudy, humid, becoming breezy on Friday with rain and thunderstorms. A few of these storms may be severe. Rain will be heavy at times, high around 83. South winds becoming 12 to 18 miles per hour. Showers and isolated thunderstorms Friday night, ending around midnight, then becoming partly cloudy. Patchy fog is possible, high around 64. Mostly sunny on Saturday, high around 83. And Saturday night, clear skies, low around 62. Keep it here on Oak 93.5. I'm Nowcast meteorologist Jim Vaughn.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuned into Chat City with P. Ross. Conversations and interviews are in the queue. Listen or join in. Here she is, P. Ross.
Greetings, here I am, P. Ross, and thank you for tuning in to another broadcast of Chat City with P. Ross. I am your host, P. Ross, and I am delighted to have with me here today Pastor Fred Goins Jr. Welcome, Mr. Fred Goins. Pastor Fred Goins.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me today.
Yes. I'm excited about you being here. If you choose to join into our chat today, please feel free to call us at 919-899-9305. Again, we welcome you to join our chat today at 919-899-9305. Before I start the show today, I want to say we took off last week. I was a little under the weather, so I thank God that I'm able to come before you again today. And on last week, we had the sax doctor and singer-songwriter Lanisha. I made a comment about one of the great American sopranos in America or in the world today, and I need to make a correction. So I'd like to start off the show with that today. I said that Leontine Price, our great American soprano, is from North Carolina. Well, I did not say that correctly. She is not from North Carolina. She is actually from Laurel, Mississippi. So I wanted to make sure I corrected that today if you watched or listened to the show a couple of weeks ago. All right. And the way we got on that conversation was Lanisha, she is a fan of Leontine Price. And I was so surprised that she knew anything about Leontine Price since she's in her 20s. And Leontine Price, I believe, is she's past 75, I do believe. But I just want to make that clear that was not her. That is from North Carolina, and it is actually singer Roberta Flack that is from Black Mountain, North Carolina. She bore a son, Bernard Wright, who sadly passed away in a car accident on last week. He was known for his popular music and jazz, and he was also a popular keyboardist. So we send our hearts and prayers out to the family of Bernard Wright, who is the offspring of famous singer Roberta Flack. All right. Memorial Day is coming up, Pastor Goins.
Yes, it is.
Do you have any plans for Memorial Day this year?
Just going to visit my daughter in South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that sounds like fun.
Yes.
Will she have you on the grill this weekend?
Of course. Daddy's got to do the cooking.
Yes. Okay. Do you have a menu planned out for the weekend?
Yes, a very fancy menu: hot dogs and hamburgers.
All right. I like that. Hot dogs and hamburgers. That's fancy enough right there. Yes. All right. So Memorial Day. I had to look up Memorial Day. I like to try to give you facts as much as I can. Memorial Day was actually considered let's see. Oh gosh, I'm skimming through my notes and I can't read my own writing. Oh, it was actually considered Decoration Day. Did you know that?
No,
Yeah. So
didn't know that.
yeah, the early origins of Memorial Day was known as Decoration Day.
Awesome.
And it was basically decorating grave sites with flowers and wreaths and flags of those that had lost their lives fighting for this country. And in my childhood, I do remember family members going to the grave sites and cleaning off graves, but I actually thought it was around the 4th of July holiday.
All right.
Did any of that happen in your lifetime?
Didn't know anything about that.
Okay.
That's very interesting.
Okay.
It's good to know. Good knowledge.
Yes, but we want to just take this time to say thank you to all service members and remember those that did lose their lives for this country, the great United States of America, in which I'm proud to be an American.
Amen.
I don't know about anybody else, but I'm glad to be in this country. Hadn't been to any other countries. I have visited the Bahamas, but they're part of the U.S., isn't it? Aren't they, or something? Maybe I got that part wrong, but I have not visited any other countries. Maybe one day I will, but I'm satisfied with the United States of America.
All right.
All right. So Pastor Fred Goins, he is the pastor of Ingram Presbyterian Church. And what city is that in, sir?
That is in Western North Carolina, Ingram Branch Presbyterian Church.
Oh, Ingram Branch Presbyterian Church. And also Blandonia. That's in Sanford, Blandonia,
North Carolina.
Okay, Presbyterian Church in Sanford, North Carolina. Mm-hmm. All right, so we've got some questions for you today, sir.
All right.
Help us with things of today. I would like to also mention that Pastor Fred Goins, he also studied at Hood Theological Seminary. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And you also attended Livingstone College?
Go Blue Bears.
And I'd like to also let you know that he's also a radio personality with his own radio show on Sunday mornings at WEEB in Southern Pines, North Carolina. All right. Pastor Goins. I'm going to touch on some subjects today. Some of you may find a bit heavy. Okay. But let's talk about you. You're a fairly young man. At what age did you decide or find out that you wanted to enter ministry?
Wow. I grew up with a mother and father that made us go to church. We stayed in church all day long. Uh-huh. So, of course, when I got a little older teenager myself, I decided I didn't want to go to church anymore. But some kind of way, I thank God for the foundation that my mother and father laid, because when you start experience that turbulence in life, you have that foundation to fall back on. And I thank God that they did make me go to church. It was always in me. So it was really late when I started going back into church. I was probably 37, 38 years old. And I just decided that, hey, I don't want to live the way I was living anymore, so yeah. I thank God for that foundation that my mother and father laid down for me. Okay,
that's good. It's always mom and dad or somebody in the family that kind of
get you. Neighborhood, everybody in the neighborhood. Back then there was a village that raised the children.
A village that raised the children, that's right.
That's right.
Let me ask you this. Do you have other siblings?
I do. I have one brother. He's in Virginia. He's also a retired military, Jared Leon Goins.
Okay.
Lakita White is a gospel artist. That's my second oldest sibling. Vanessa Goins is my baby sister, and Janelle Goins is my knee baby.
Okay, so you have
I'm the oldest of all five.
You're the oldest.
That's oldest and the best looking.
I hear you. All right. Now, so are they in ministry as well, like you, or
Lakita is.
Lakita is. Okay, good. All right. Now, being a pastor, I hear a lot of people say that they have a calling. Can you say that for you, or how would you describe your?
Yeah, I could say I had a calling because I didn't want to be called.
Okay.
I found myself joining the church in 1998, and I just basically wanted to just be somebody in the congregation. But the more I went to church, the more I started growing in Christ. I just felt a need to get up and say something. And people were telling me in 2000, hey, you need to go ahead and start preaching. You need to go ahead and start preaching songs. I said, no, I have to wait on God to let me know that's what he want me to do. Because when God calls you, you know it's a true calling. Okay. And a lot of people are calling themselves. And not only they're calling themselves all these titles. Mm-hmm. And I call them, you know, sometimes we see a lot of churches on the corners with no members because they have not been called to that ministry. So I feel like that my calling is a true calling.
All right. You kind of answered one of the questions I had for later on about that. But I'm going to go ahead with this next question for you. So being a man of the cloth, do you find it a bit challenging, or is it, what are the, I would say as we say, pros and cons, what are the con parts for you?
Well, the best part of it is knowing at the end of the day when you have some troubles who you can call on. You can call on the Lord.
All right.
Yes, it is a challenge. But, you know, God prepared me for this all of my life, and I never realized it. I was in the hotel business. I've always supervised. Even with Boy Scouts, I always supervised. He always had me in a position of supervision and for dealing with different people. And now I'm doing this full time. I'm a chaplain. I work as a full-time chaplain now. And God, like I said, God was just preparing me the whole time when I was managing hotels, and I was, you know, he was preparing me for a congregation of how to deal with people, you know. And sometimes you have some challenges that you have to face, but you have to be. Old folks say you have to be prayed up.
You have to be prayed up,
and they mean you need to constantly pray and seek God. God's got to be first if you're gonna do this.
Okay. So for those who may not know what a chaplain is, explain what that is.
Well, I'm a bereavement coordinator chaplain, and there's two positions. One is where I make visits. I go to visit those that are that are sick, and we have prayer with them and offer support for the families. And then there's a part that I do, which is bereavement coordinator. After the families have lost a loved one, we send out correspondent letters to them before. We have a 13-month program where we provide grief support for totally free for that family to let them know that, hey, you know, just because they're no longer with us, we're here with you.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what we do.
That's awesome to provide grief support for families who are experiencing death and may not know how to handle it, or reoccurring, you know. I mean, we all gotta leave here one day, but we, you know, a lot of times we're not prepared, or we don't know how to handle the loss of a loved one. So I think that's a wonderful thing that you do that. So as a chaplain, do you go into hospitals? We go into hospitals, nursing homes, homes. I've actually been a volunteer chaplain at Moore Regional Hospital, First Health of Carolinas, for 18 years. Wow. So that's where I got my start at before I started actually working and doing this for a living. Okay, so when you got the calling, did you decide right then, hey, I need to go get theological training, and decide to go into the seminary, or how did that happen for you? Yes, that's a great question. Yes, I was with in the organization AME Zion Church, and a lot of their preachers were going through Hood Theological Seminary, Livingstone College, and I just wanted to prepare myself to be the best I can be by going back. I actually going back to school and getting my degree. And I actually went to one school for 4 years, and it was not accredited. And then I went to try to transfer into another school. They said, hey, you need to start all over. So, oh, wow. Believe it or not, I started over. Okay. I went 8 straight years to Salisbury, Livingstone 4 years, Hood 4 years, and I'm actually getting ready to graduate June 11th with 2 doctor's degrees. Oh, that is awesome. On the 11th, yeah. You know, I don't have my hand clapping button over here right now, just easy accessible to me, but I'm going to give you a hand clap on that. Right, that's awesome. Yes, ma'am. Yes, congratulations on that. And I want to just share this with this. I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. You know, wow. A lot of people don't know that. I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade, but I went back and I decided, you know, I've got to get myself together. That is great. So you dropped out of school in the 10th grade. That's right. That's right. Did you go back and get a high school? Yes, I did. I went back and got my GED. Okay. That's right.
I'm proud of my GED.
I know that's right. That is wonderful. And what inspiration for somebody that is listening or either watching on Facebook today that you can do this too.
That's right.
Yeah. And so then, okay, so you went, you dropped out, you got your GED, and then you went to college.
That's right.
Furthered your education.
Furthered my education. That's right.
That is great. All right. So now, tell me what it takes. What measures do you take to prepare your Sunday morning sermons for 2 churches?
Well, I alternate Sundays with the churches, but it's still preparation. My messages come from my life experiences.
Okay. The
things that I have lived. So when I stand there and talk to you about what's going on and apply the Bible to it, it's real. It's nothing I made up. It's something I've been through. The emotions I have. I get upset. I get mad. I have things. And so, I'm not trying to preach prosperity to people. I'm just trying to preach the truth. And that's what we need to do as men of God. Stop trying to collect this big offering all the time. It's not about that. It's about saving souls. It's personal to me. And when it's personal, you have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. That's what this thing is about for me.
Okay, that's good. It's funny that you mentioned prosperity because I was watching another well-known, maybe not so favored minister. I won't call his name, but that's one of the things he pointed out here about being careful of those that is always speaking in the churches about money. Of course, we all know it takes money to operate any church. I don't believe any church can survive without paying the water, the lights, the necessary utilities and things to keep a church running. However, but when you con people or you beat people over the head about paying all this money to the church, and then you misuse the money, that's another story.
That's right.
Yeah, and it discourages the parishioners or anybody that's a member to find out later that that's what you were doing. Not you, but just anybody.
That's true.
That is doing that. Okay, Pastor Goins. We just experienced another school shooting. Have violence in our school systems today. I saw a chart, and I'm going to read to you this chart in the order in which I saw it. And I just want to get your opinions on how do we combat this. So the chart that I saw, if you can imagine at the top of this chart, it's going to have these words, mass shooting. And then the chart goes clockwise, and it points down to another subject or statement. And it says, that next statement says, media extravaganza. So right now we have mass shooting, and then it points downward in a circular motion to media extravaganza. Then the next set of words I saw were these, thoughts and prayers. So going back to the chart at the beginning, there's mass shootings, media extravaganza, and then thoughts and prayers. The next thing in order of the chart, going around in its circular motion, these words, social media. So I'm going to start from the beginning again. Mass shootings, media extravaganza, thoughts and prayers, social media. The next thing in line is this, gun debates. What's fifth on the list is no one actually does anything. And then the last thing in this cycle, and it goes right back up to the top of the circle, it says back to normal. Before you answer that, I would like our listeners to know that you're listening to Chat City on WRLY LP Raleigh. Your host is P. Ross, and I'm your host, P. Ross. In the audience with me, in the studio with me today is one Pastor Fred Goins Jr. and
A.K.A. Pastor Goins.
A.K.A. Pastor Goins. It's a pleasure to have him here with us today, and we invite you to call in and chat with us at 919-899-9305. Pastor Goins, I just read to you this chart that I saw.
Yes.
And I asked you about, or I mentioned school shootings. We just had one yesterday or day before in Texas. Your thoughts on this, sir?
Well, I'm going to jump right to the meat of the subject. We're talking about thoughts and prayers. What are we thinking? We can pray, and we continue to. When it was 911, everybody, the country came together. We prayed. All these shootings that's happened, everybody come together and pray. And then I think you mentioned something about goes back to normal. So until Congress or whoever does something about this situation, we're going to be in the same boat probably the next year, next month on down the road. So it's okay. We need to pray, but we need to pray for those people that we're voting for. That's where it's going to start. We need to pray that somebody takes some action, because these innocent little babies who was cheated out of their lives, it's just not right. But on a spiritual level, the Bible talks about these things that's going to happen. The hearts of men will wax cold. We talk about the last days, and that's some study you have to do individually when people have their own. But it starts with that thoughts and prayers, and that's where it is. And somebody mentioned that the other day, taking prayer out of school doesn't have anything to do with it. Well, this is the opinion of Pastor Goins. When you move God out of something, you allow Satan to come in, and he has full reign. That's just my opinion.
I agree. Now, something else I saw on in conjunction with this chart, and you mentioned it too, thoughts and prayers. So on another social media page, I saw the words thoughts and prayers pertaining to what happened in Texas with the school shooting recently. But those words were crossed out, and underneath those words was policy and change. So you just tapped on it a bit there. Policy and change. It's going to take policies, changing policies.
Right, and it's good that we're praying, and I believe that everybody now is praying, they're sincere about their prayers. But when we don't take action, when we don't come together and review those policies and procedures and things like that, and put some things in place where people can just go buy a gun. I'm concerned now that people can walk around with guns in grocery stores. We don't know what kind of mood or personality that person's in. We have babies and kids that when they're in the grocery stores with their mother, they're looking at this person walking around with a gun. What are we instilling in our children? This just has to be something in place that makes sense. Right now, nothing makes sense, especially the senseless killing of those young people and those teachers.
Yes. I believe that we should beef up security in our public places, and I think this is something we should get used to. So that maybe, I know it's kind of scary to see someone in a public place like a Walmart or a restaurant with a weapon attached to their hip. I've seen it more now than I've ever seen it in my lifetime. But at the same time, I have to think, now what if we were in an emergency situation where there was an active shooter and there were no police or armed security around? But we have this person who is trained to use their gun and to take down someone such as an active shooter. I look at it that way too.
That makes sense. To me, that makes sense.
But, it's just the days and times that we're living in now. The world has changed so much.
Yes.
And I believe it will continue to change until the Creator comes back.
According to the Bible. According to the Bible, that's correct.
Yes. So, speaking of changing times, Pastor Goins, do you consider yourself a modern day or traditional pastor?
In between.
Explain that.
I'm a little old school and new school. I'm all about the young people. And we'll talk about my music later on, but that's what my music represents. Just we're just trying to let the church know that this you can have fun as a Christian. Okay. You can do things. And that's what I'm all about. and I'm, especially reaching out to the young people. I ran a basketball organization for 10 years, Moore County Heat organization. That was my own basketball organization, and I stopped because of COVID. But the young people that came up through that organization, when they see me, they remember the way they was treated and the respect that I gave them. So I consider myself sort of in between. I'm kind of old school, new school.
Okay. So I'm going to say you started out old school, but when you decide to deal with youth, or anytime you see someone that's a little bit younger than you, do you decide then that, okay, I'm going to be a modern day pastor? Is that what you're saying? Or I'm going to speak modern day things to where they can understand?
Well, you have to listen to your children. We have a lot of churches that are empty. They don't have children in the churches anymore.
Okay.
Because we don't listen to them. We want to continue to keep things the way they were. And like you said earlier, things are changing now. So you have to listen to your children, get them involved, communicate with them, because if not, the streets is going to do it for you, and they're going to end up in jail or dead. So I have a passion to reach out to these young men. And I was telling the church one time, when you see a young man with his pants down, offer him a belt. And I'm not talking about a leather belt. Offer him a belt of love, a belt of kindness. Show him some attention and just let him know, be nice and just listen to what he has to say. You just never know. And that's, that's just my take on it.
I like what you said. Offer them a belt.
That's right.
And I guess just doing a small gesture like that
Something
could
small.
open up a conversation.
That's right.
As to finding out why they are
Instead of
wearing
judging them, a lot of times we just judge. We judge that young girl that got pregnant, teenage girl that got pregnant, and we close them out. We talk about them. We don't, instead of offering some assistance and say, hey, you know what, you can still go back to school. We can as a neighborhood, as a village, we can help you with this child.
Is that where the churches are lacking today?
That's where the churches are lacking right now. We're so caught up in who gonna put on the best program, raise the most money, that we forget about what's real.
Wow, that is true. So let me ask you this: being that you are aware, have you done anything personally, or have you thought about anything about maybe meeting with other pastors and discussing the things that we could do better to help those that are on the streets and things of that nature?
Awesome question. June the 18th.
Okay.
Pastor Gentry Winfield and Pastor Goins are hosting a breakfast for a roundtable for pastors at his church, on Christway Community Church, at 9 o'clock that morning. And that's a good question, because we feel that we as pastors need to come together and just talk about some of the things, talk about our burnout, sort of testify and confide in each other. How do we deal with difficult members, and what we need to take time off of vacation. Just a lot of topics that pastors need to come together. Leave your egos, or wherever you got ego, we don't even want you there. We just want you to come humbly.
Okay.
Come humbly and let's just talk to each other as brothers and pastors.
Now, I'd like to mention that for those that cannot see us via Facebook, Pastor Fred Goins is an African-American male. And let's talk about the African-American community a little bit. Now, I know we've kind of touched on it a little bit already about what we see in the streets or how some things are going in our communities. What do you think is the number one issue in the African-American community when it comes to males?
Drugs and violence is one of the things that is still out there. Gangs, and we have to figure out this. Here's another thing. We have to figure out a way where we can draw these young men, get them back, get them off these streets. Like you said, we talk about the mass shootings. We talk about these guys going to jail and doing these things, but there's nothing in place. There's no programs in certain places. But as soon as that young man is in jail, his picture's all plastered all over the paper, we want to talk about him. But we haven't done anything. We haven't tried to come up with an idea. And it starts with a simple idea. Maybe we can just, come up with a little group session once a month to bring these young men together,
Yes.
And, show them some love and attention because they're getting it from the streets. They're not getting it from the church. And a lot of them don't get it from their parents.
Okay, so I see a lot of ministers, so to speak, on social media, which we know social media is just a heavy traffic area for a lot of folks, especially our young people. Now, before social media came along, there was the streets. Street ministries. Do you think going back to street ministry is what we really need to do versus trying to do it all on social media?
I don't think that will hurt. Just offer that. If you're on Facebook just to show out and show people who you are and you can preach, you're on there for the wrong reasons. Title of my radio show is Keeping It Real with Pastor Goins, and I like to keep it real. There's no other way I can do it because I know what I've been through. I know what God has brought me through, and I can share my testimony. My testimony is nothing I made up. It's something that I've been through. So when you see me on Facebook or anywhere, I'm talking about some experiences that I have and how God brought me out. And what we need to do is, go back to go back to tent revivals. Go back to doing things that will draw crowds. Pastor Gentry used to have these prayer on Gain Street. He initiated that.
Okay, and Gain Street is in
Southern Pines,
North Carolina.
And he drew crowds and crowds of people, and that's what me and him we're brainstorming now as two preachers that want to make a difference in our Southern Pines or Moore County community. And we're gonna and as the Lord give those things to us, that's what we're gonna do.
And of course, these ideas can be adopted to other communities as well. They don't just have to stay in our local, surrounded areas, communities around us. We can pass on, find out what others are doing in their communities, as well as what we're doing in our communities.
But here's the issue. The issue. A lot of pastors are jealous. They are jealous. If they didn't come up with the idea, they don't want to be a part of it.
Okay.
But once they ride by the clay hole, the Southern Pines is where I grew up at, and they see it going on, then they want to come up on the microphone and say something so people can see them, and that's not what it's about. It's not about you,
right?
It's about allowing God to use you in the way that can draw men to God, and men and women to God.
Now, we spoke of men. How about young women in the African American communities? We see a lot of women doing things that I wouldn't have thought of doing back at the ages they are now. So, and some of the things I'm talking about is like when they dance, you see a lot of twerking and gyrating of their body parts online and things of that nature. What do you think about that, Pastor Goins? How do we address that? Because I do see it as an issue.
Well, first of all, there's a generational shift.
Okay.
Mothers are younger now. They're practically raised themselves, 16, 17 years old mothers. By the time they're 25, they have a 10-year-old son, and they've raised that son to curse or be around cursing or drugs and things like that. It's just, and it becomes a pattern, and they think it's cute until their son is 20-some years old, dead or in prison, and it's no longer cute anymore. I know of a person right now that's struggling with her 15-year-old, 16-year-old child because all that child ever knew was what the family did around them. Drink, drugs, everything like that, So you're looking at a product that you raised. That's the way you raised. So when it comes to our young people, the church has to get involved. The community has to get involved. First of all, let them know we still, you care. Yeah, you got pregnant at 16 years old, but this is not the end of the world.
Right.
It's not the end of the world. So the churches are full of women, older women, not young people, young women. And when you see the young women come into church, some of them are dressed inappropriately. Of course, they get judged for that, and it's right now it's just a mess. And the only one that can fix it is God. But first, we got to fix us, the church.
Right.
We got to get ourselves right.
Okay. And what are some of the measures we can do to get better as a church?
Well, like I said, first of all, prayer is always the right way. And see, before I do anything, before I take a appointment, anything, I talk to God. I ask God because I need wisdom. I need Him to lead, guide, and direct me. He is the head of my life. When you say you give your life to Christ, your life no longer belongs to you. That means you trust God with everything. He's first. And we have to get back to that point where we say, instead of on Sunday mornings we trust Him, on Bible study we trust Him, but what about the rest of the days of the week? Let's keep this thing real.
Okay. What's your idea of a good revival? And revivals, I want to say, you correct me if I'm wrong, they are basically, revivals can be open up to anyone, but the revival is basically for the Christian to get rejuvenated. Is that correct?
That's true.
Okay.
But the best revival is when souls are being saved. People are being delivered from their addictions, and they're being set free from things. But here's the problem. We hear pastors talking about, 4 people got saved in my church today. Oh, we celebrated, we shouted all over the church. But what happens when those 4 people walk out the door? That's when they really need the church. Because I've seen a lot of them get saved and run around and on Sundays, and by the end of the week, they're back in the same situation because nobody has called them and say, hey, I want to minister with you. I want to help you grow into this thing. But we want to put notches up under our belt of how many people, let me say this, that we saved. We can't save anybody.
Right.
I got to keep it real. I know some of them don't like what I'm saying, but I'm just telling what I see.
Okay. Now, for those that's just tuning in, you're listening to Chat City with P. Ross on WRLY Raleigh, North Carolina. Again, I am your host, P. Ross, and thank you for tuning in with us today. My special guest is Pastor Fred Goins. He's also a singer-songwriter, and he's going to give us a treat later on today. We're going to hear his latest single that he has on the market today.
Praise the Lord.
All right. If you have any questions for Pastor Goins, now is a good time to call us, 919-899-9305. If you have any questions that you would like to ask the good pastor while he's in the building with us today, we welcome your phone call.
Let's talk.
Okay. Now, we're going to change subject a little bit. The word says, he that find a wife find a good thing, Pastor Goins. And you are a married man. Is that correct?
Yes.
What advice do you give men who are single and searching for a good woman?
Wow. Seek God first. And I know that's something that people hear all the time. And people said, I'm waiting on the Lord to send me somebody. But the Lord wants you to go out and try to find you somebody. And we need to get back to those dates of courting, of being friends without those, what they call benefits.
Benefits, that's right.
Let's keep it real. But, there are some good women out there just like there are good men out there. But you want to be led by God. Everything, I'm just telling you, I wasn't saved when I met my wife in high school. And we went through some ups and downs in our marriages. But because both of us decided to give our life to Christ and to live a better life before our children were grown, it made a difference when I found God, when I went back to the Lord. So there's 3 things that get into bed with you at nighttime in a marriage. Your wife, your husband, and sometimes the enemy, the devil, slides in between.
Wait a minute. Say that again. Repeat.
That's right. 3 people that get in that bed. Okay. Your wife, your husband, and the enemy will slide right there between you.
Okay.
Because he does not want you married. Because he knows that God has ordained that. And so he's going to do what he can to destroy it. So for these young men, you have to first of all seek God, because if you seek the wrong thing, you're going to be seeking lust. You're going to be seeking things that's not of God, and you're going to end up with somebody. And the same thing for women. And let me say this. Grandmamas, you don't need to be walking around with miniskirts on. Be a grandmother.
Okay. Say that again.
Grandmothers, stop wearing miniskirts and tattoos.
Okay.
Be a grandmother.
All right.
Grandfathers, get off the 10-speed bike and the throwback T-shirts. Be Be a grandfather to your kids. Get off the street corners. You know, I've got to keep it real, because this is what this generation is looking at right now. You know, oh, my granddaddy's on the street over there selling crack. My grandmama is out there chasing down young men. What they call them, cougars.
Yeah.
You know, so we got to get back to being who we were. My grandmother was respectable. I know your grandmother was. My grandfather was. They took us to church. The men were in church. We just got to get back to those things.
Okay, that's interesting, and I never thought about it like that. Grandmother's, okay. That doesn't mean you have to be like the little old maid on the old maid cards that we had. No, he's not saying that. He's just saying, you know, let's give our younger folks
and respect yourself.
A respectable leader to look up to, because we've lost that.
That's right.
In our communities nowadays, and that is so true. Pastor Goins, are you familiar with who Kevin Samuels was?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, he was he recently passed away very unexpectedly. I think at the age of 57.
Wow. And
he was the fastest and hottest growing relationship guru there was on social media.
Okay.
And a lot of women despised him because he kind of his delivery wasn't nice at all.
I think I've heard the story. Yeah. Recently heard that story.
Yes, his delivery wasn't nice at all. But you know what? I could agree with a lot of things that Mr. Samuels was saying online and, you know, on his programs. I mean, like I said, he was a little harsh about it, but I came across one program where he was actually speaking biblical principles. And it was surprising to find that from a man of his, he was this guy that talked about being a high value man, that he appeared to be one himself. And he would tell women about what you need or how you need to carry yourself if you were seeking a high value man, which a lot of women are searching for these days.
Right, that's right.
You know. But personally, it doesn't take all of that. You know, it's just about two people really loving each other and not minding helping each other make a beautiful living for themselves, whether they're in a high-end financial bracket or not, you know? It's just all about love. So, as I mentioned earlier, we got a special treat from Pastor Goins. He kindly handed me this CD that he has made, All of My Praise.
That was the first single.
That's his first single, and he has a new single out. What is it called?
I Won't Stay Down.
I Won't Stay Down. Now, tell us about, first of all, how'd you get into the music? How were you introduced to music and want to make CDs and things of that nature?
Well, it started years ago when I was trying to rap.
Okay.
And me and some friends of mine, we used to do music and things like that. And I've always written songs, and you know, I just kind of gave it up for a while. And then my sister Lakita White, thank God for her, she started making music and putting her singles out. And I said, you know what? The Lord told me to go ahead and start, you know, get back and doing what I was doing. So, like I said, the songs I write, the sermons I preach come from my personal experiences.
Okay.
And that's why I think my churches are doing well, and you know, people like people that's real. They don't like phony. So this I Won't Stay Down, I'll get back up and turn my life around. This song is reaching a lot of people.
Okay. All right. Now tell us the inspiration for writing I Won't Stay Down.
Looking at the things that's happening in the world, Ukraine, look at the things that's happening, the shooting, the families that's going through. My personal family members that have been on drugs, I wanted to let them know that, look at myself, high school dropout, you know, come back and get my GED, my master's degree, my bachelor's, then my doctor's. You know, I won't stay down. I'll get back up and turn my life around. Recently, a young lady text me, and I'm going to save the text message. She said that her 15-year-old godson was getting ready to blow his brains out, kill himself. And she sent him the video of I Won't Stay Down. Wow. And he wanted to talk to me, he wanted to meet me, and he wanted to come on, and just basically he wanted to live. Let me put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to live, and I'm gonna get with the young lady. I'm gonna say I want to talk to this young man. I want to keep encouraging him, because mental health is something that's serious. That's another subject for another day.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But the inspiration behind that song is for the whole world, for everybody can listen to this song that's ever been knocked down by life. And I used to be a kickboxer.
Oh, okay.
I used to box. I was a world champion kickboxer professionally.
Awesome.
There's two ways to get knocked out.
Uh-huh.
One way, you can get knocked out and you can kind of fight somebody that's a little bit better than you, and you know you're going to get knocked out.
Uh-huh.
But when you get knocked out and you think you win in the fight and you get knocked out and you don't know you don't expect the knockout.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what a lot of people are experiencing, that we're getting knocked down.
Uh-huh.
And when we don't expect it, death of a loved one, loss of a job, the economy, those are kind of things that's knocking us down. But those are the things that we can get back up with God, with the help of God, and turn our lives around. And that's what this song is all about.
That is awesome. Now, you mentioned you were a kickboxer. Are you familiar with, or do you know Dale Sunshine Fry?
That's my buddy.
Okay,
that's
he's a friend.
Dale's the one that got me started in kickboxing years ago.
Wow.
That's
okay.
right.
Yeah, so you were with the best.
That's
Good
right.
gosh.
That's right.
Wow. That's awesome. You're welcome to join in on this conversation. The phone number you can call in to is 919-899-9305. You're listening to Chat City with P. Ross. I'm your host. I have the wonderful Mr. Pastor Fred Goins Jr. here with us today. We've just been touching bases on different subjects. If you're just now tuning in to listen to us or watch us, we have a special treat. He's written a song that's very inspirational.
For you, that's right. It's for you.
For you, you, and
that's
you.
That's right. There you go.
Okay, and this song we're going to play right now is called I Won't Stay Down.
All right.
Sometimes I feel discouraged, 'cause life knocks me down. Seems like I keep falling. I can't get up off the ground. I know there would be some hard days. Some days will be tough. But no matter what I'm going through, I won't give up. I'm determined to let nothing keep me on the ground. together. I refuse to stay down. I won't stay. I won't stay down. I'll get back up and turn my life around. I won't stay. I won't stay down. I'll get back up and turn my life around. I won't stay down. I'll get back up and turn my life around. I won't stay. I won't stay down. I'll get back up and turn my life around. I won't stay. I won't stay down. I'll get back up and turn my life around. I won't stay. I won't stay down. I'll get back up and turn my life around. I won't stay. I won't stay down. I'll get back up and turn my life around.
I won't stay down. That was a very nice song, Pastor Goins.
Well, thank you very much.
Now,
to God be the glory.
Yes. Now, you also have a video. Is that correct?
Yes, the video is on YouTube. I won't stay down. Going to Pastor Goins, I won't stay down. You'll be able to see the video.
Okay. Now, tell us about the video.
Well, the video was shot in Rockingham, North Carolina.
Okay.
My nephew, Ahmad G, which is Lakita's son, he produced the video and the song for me. So it was in a boxing gym, Dungeon. Shout out to Dungeon Boxing School in Rockingham, North Carolina. On Good Friday, we shot the video, and it's just basically, just kind of, I'm in the boxing ring, getting knocked down, getting back up. Every time I get knocked down, and then at the end, you see me come out a winner.
Okay. That's awesome. Yeah, I caught a little bit of the video. I didn't see the whole thing. I got to go back and watch it. But for those of you that would like to see this awesome video along with this song, you can find it again on YouTube. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Pastor Goins, I Won't Stay Down. You can watch it.
Pastor Goins, I Won't Stay Down. Now, you mentioned your son, your nephew, Ahmad G. He's doing some big things out in California, isn't he?
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere.
Doing well. He was a producer of the year one time. He also did some music for a movie called Northern South, I believe, on BET Plus. So
okay.
God is really using that young man.
Awesome. All right. So, Pastor Goins, I Won't Stay Down. How can we get a copy of that song, Pastor Goins?
It's on all digital outlets.
Oh, okay.
It's on iTunes, Amazon, Deezer, everything.
Oh, okay.
You can just go and just download the song and just share the song, please, with everybody. Help me put this message out. I'm trying to get this message to people in Texas. I'm trying to get this message to people in Ukraine. I'm just trying to get it to the world.
And it's a beautiful message.
Yes,
I won't stay down.
That's right.
You don't have to stay down. You can get right back up.
That's right.
Yesterday, Pastor Goins marked the second anniversary of the death of George Floyd, who was killed by a police officer, Mr. Derek Chauvin, doing what we call a routine call. Unfortunately, he lost his life. Mr. George Floyd had ties to North Carolina. And 2 years after the aftermath of all of the George Floyd mess that happened, what are your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, first of all, it was just a sad situation and a sad time for the country. Mm-hmm. But what I'm about to say is something that we all need to do. We need to continue to pray for the Floyd family. They need to pray. And we also need to pray for the Chauvin family. Mm-hmm. Because God created us all. Mm-hmm. I got to keep it real, people. A lot of people won't like what I'm about to say. But God wants us to love. He wants us to, but just remember the beautiful memories that Mr. Floyd left, and the legacy. And his death has impacted this country in a positive way. Mm-hmm. In a positive way. We can reflect on what happened, but let's reflect on the goodness that come out of this, and continue to seek justice in all these things that may happen. Mm-hmm. That we people will get a fair trial. That people won't be getting judged by the color of their skin. All the things that Dr. Martin Luther King talked about. It's time for us to come together as a country and people of God, mm-hmm. especially people of God. Yes, we can pray, but let's put some action behind our prayers.
Yes, that's right. Where will the state of the church be in the next 5 years?
That's a good question. It's going to be where we take it.
All right, that's correct.
It's going to be where we take it, Uh-huh. We just can't come together on Sundays and that's it. Go back out our way. There's no such thing as a white church and a black church. Mm-hmm. There's the church, God's house. Mm-hmm. And we need to quit segregating the churches. And I believe it was Dr. Martin Luther King said that's the most segregated day of the week, Sundays, because everybody has their own church. Okay. But if we plan on going to heaven or getting into heaven, we better check ourselves before we wreck ourselves.
All right. Check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. That is correct.
Spiritually, that's right.
We are coming to the close of an hour sort of fast here. And I just want to say it's been a pleasure having you on today. And thoroughly enjoyed your song. We'll definitely be listening to it more and more, especially the message, knowing that it saved a life, the message behind the song. In the next few seconds, if you had to do a mini sermon on hope, what would that sermon be?
That sermon would be about change for this country. And it starts with us. No, doesn't matter what color your skin is, but come together, and the Bible says love. Without love, we can't please God. And it starts with love. If we hope or we pray for you, let's pray that we start loving each other. Loving each other. In the morning time, when we wake up, love. First of all, you have to love God. Yes. And if you love God, everything else will flow.
All right. You heard it here on Chat City with P. Ross. Pastor Fred Goins, thank you again for being our guest today. And we look forward to having you again.
Thank you for having me.
In the future.
Yeah,
okay.
Amen. Thank you.
All right. We thank you for tuning in again with us this week. We'll be back next week. In the meantime, say your prayers, and thank you, servicemen and servicewomen, for all that you do for the great United States of America. Amen. And just remember those who lost their lives for us as a country, okay? We love you, and we'll see you next week.
Oak 93.5 is a low-power FM service brought to you by Triangle Access Broadcasting, a non-profit corporation, WRLY.